is that that was a lesson learned, and I don't think if Kenyans want to do something like that because of political scores. We are now beyond that. Kenyans have become advanced. Now their interest is they know where to take their beats. If there's issues, there are political grounds. If they are criminal in nature, or if they want to take something to the corridors of justice, our justice systems are in place. And where they think they should also put their weight in terms of their opinion, they are where public opinions are also entertained. So I don't think if we will have such a situation. We made a mistake in 2007, and that's why Kenyans have learned a lot. We have gone through a lot of elections violence, which were not significantly, significantly dangerous, because you have seen elections have been conducted. There were some pockets of insecurity, but that has been diffused very fast.
All right. You know, sometimes it's disheartening, because even in just the other time when the young boys and girls and other Kenyans joined in a protest against the Finance Act, we lost lives. One life is very expensive. It does not matter how many. And, people put up businesses, they're vandalized in the name of ethnic or tribal lines. But that aside, I just want to hear your thoughts, Paul, on the statement by NCIC. If I read directly what Kobia said, maybe this would bring in more context. As NCIC, our major concern is that, and I quote, the way this process is shaping up, all right, and that was on Monday, could easily lead to conflict. Now, maybe if you try and analyze, because you're also letting us know how constitutionally the situation is shaping up, do you think this was ill advised of the NCIC to release this statement? Is it just doing its mandate as an institution? Or what would be your word really to Kobia? Because the country also needs that whatever position an institution holds will also promote cohesion. I seek to understand your thoughts on this.
I'm just sitting here thinking, Kobia was sitting in Geneva, largely before his retirement, which is, Geneva is a UN capital, as a representative of many religious groups doing international diplomacy. Came back here, became the chair of NCIC, and he never saw anything wrong. All this time, when the deputy president has been propagating these mountain this, mountain that, mountain this, mountain that, they have never spoken about it. Suddenly, somehow, some way, they have a report to give the nation. They have a statement to issue to the nation. That's a joke. I mean, they can do better than that. So I wouldn't take them seriously, to be honest. And I think that because their term is almost over, they better prepare to leave office and get new people in those offices, because they never saw anything wrong all this time. I mean, you don't see something wrong with an institution supposed to create cohesion and integration amongst Kenyans. We and the High Court ruling that some ethnic communities were ignored in the KRA appointments. Did you see NCIC doing anything about or saying anything about it? We had the deputy president over and over and over talking about mountain and shares, and I listened to the honorable who is this, the guy who was the chief of staff for the former prime minister, saying in the National Assembly, saying the first time he met the deputy president was in the late Francis Ogola's house. And he went ahead to explain what after every 1 minute, 2 minutes, the deputy president would tell the president, let's leave. These people are not helping us. We have no votes here. What are we doing in this? Let's go to our regions. You can't have that kind of a person in a position of power that is meant for the republic, then Kenya, the nation Kenya, and then NCIC is seeing all that happening and saying nothing, and suddenly, somehow, some way, they come out and issue that kind. It's very unfortunate, and they better prepare to pack and leave.
According to you then, because as we're continuing, and I think more demands are coming, to hear your analysis based on your expertise as governance and policy or political analyst, to hear your thoughts on these particular names that are being fronted again as the replacements of Rigathi Gachagua. I know we touched on it, but that was pretty much on the base. You said, some of you said this other person would not, fit, this would fit based on their strengths and their weaknesses. But I think Fwamba has something to say
Before I get to that, this NCIC is a thorny issue because I am inclined to believe that NCIC is part of a narrative that is supposed to be partisan in favor of the deputy president. Because on the...
Is it?
Because on the 17th,
taken a very bad position.
I have a justification to that. On the 17th of June, 2024, I did a letter through my advocate, Mr. Otieno Alwoka, to NCIC to raise complaint about, I think you have that copy of that letter.
All right. I should follow up
yes, to raise a complaint about the incendiary remarks the deputy president has been making. That was in line with the things that he had said in Bungoma, all over saying that you people have enough shares. He made it to imply, to look like even Raila being part of the government is a wrong thing.
Is that dated in June,
it is detailed in that letter.
Okay.
The NCIC never took action, never responded, never said anything. The other day I saw when the deputy president was trying to defend himself, he said they're accusing him of hate speech, but he has never been summoned by NCIC to expound or explain on the kind of things that he's been talking about. So coming to this level, where the other day I saw a photo trending online of the vice chairman of NCIC labeling Rigathi Gachagua as my kingpin. And now the other narrative about CG clashes are being talked about by the chairman of the same commission. To me, I think that's a partisan commission that has no role to play at all in this country because it has never been serious in terms of acting on real issues.
Can we backtrack this a little bit? Because we have the situation before us, but you have said it has never been active. Do you have any case in scenarios that you could refer to in situations where NCIC failed?
For me, for me now, this is based on personal experience. There's nothing greater than personal experience. Anything else can be a third party, someone telling you or explaining to you. But why did they ignore? Why did they never take action? Maybe they'll have saved their man. Because if they acted and gave him piece of advice that don't continue this narrative, we wouldn't be here today. You see the way people are reacting on the ground, for example. There are those who are agitated. They think Rigathi is targeted by so and so what. But now those issues that we raise are the ones that are bringing him down. Because they have nothing to do with the president. They have everything to do with the position he occupies and the kind of things that he has been talking about and the kind of violations he has made with the Constitution and the kind of misunderstanding of the mandate and responsibilities that come with his office.
All right. Gentlemen, it gets even more interesting if I just, we've shared that with you to understand that we are fact-checking whatever is said here. And ultimately, our job as the media is not to divide the country, absolutely not. But facts must be stated. All right. Let's get into the fun moment of who would be then.
Let me just finalize now that part because that's the question you had asked. Because I was talking about the kind of person that is supposed to succeed Rigathi, and in my opinion...
And now you get to give us their strengths?
It has a lot to do with what the president wants as opposed to what the people, what the individuals themselves want. You can propose yourself, you can mobilize people.
So where do you leave the Kenyans?
No, Kenya is a part of that decision because the president, by the time he gets to make the final decision, he'll have listened to these views from different Kenyans. And that's why some people are coming up, mobilizing on. But what the president will rely on mainly is his own gut feeling on who best he can work with. Of course, he'll receive proposals and suggestions from different sections of Kenyans. But ultimately, who best can work with the president? You look at Mudavadi, for example. We start with outliers because it's assumed that the city is supposed to go back to Mount Kenya. But then there are those ones who have proposed Mudavadi. I remember during the earthquake, when I was following because we were in Azimio and we were timing everything that was ongoing in Kenya Kwanza. So during the earthquake, I remember the facial expression.
Earthquake 1 or 2?
Earthquake 1, the one that was at Bomas.
Okay.
I remember the president's facial expression when he was telling Mudavadi, he said, "We will never forget this moment." Something to that effect. And it was so passionate and so genuine in terms of expression. So maybe there could come time for him to be rewarded in the name of also planning the 2027 elections, in the name of maybe consolidating Western Kenya as a voting bloc and also reaching out to other parts that have not been part of this administration. Remember the fact of broad-based. I saw Mugambi talking about the aspect of Kenya Kwanza coalition agreements. But now, times have moved a bit. It's a bit dynamic. Now we have broad-based aspect of government. But again, I do not think the president will also forget the initial allies of Kenya Kwanza. And that's where people like Professor Kindiki come in.
Let me actually share this. There's an analysis here, and I don't know, you can agree or disagree with this. And they're saying the strength of Kithure Kindiki, professor, acceptability across political divide, according to this. He's non-antagonistic, yes, they say. Long good standing relationship with President Ruto, they're saying, having been his lawyer during the ICC times. Yes. Hands-on experience on the running of the government, and they're also saying he was endorsed by members of parliament in 2022 as Ruto's running mate. The only problem they're saying he has, in as far as weakness is concerned, is his political touch base and engagement with the ground politically.
That is that could be a strength in its own. Because the president wants someone who can assist him to work, not someone who is supposed to be busy doing politics on the ground. So if Kindiki, for example, is being classified, I also did an elaborate analysis on these candidates in written form. I'll share with you at some point. The strength that he has, that working, is an aspect of strength. Because what the president needs right now is someone with the skills and the right mindset that can help him deliver on the agenda that he promised in his manifesto.
All right.
It's not politics for now. Politics in terms of campaigning, he'll put together the blocks, and as I said earlier, he's someone who likes getting to the electorate by himself. He wants to be known by that real Mama Mboga, that Mkokoteni guy in person. And one thing that I've also experienced with the president is that if he interacts with you, if he meets you for the first time, he'll never forget you the next time he meets you.
I think Fwamba is getting into the heat.
Yes. I think
if you're not careful, we might run to the Senate before you speak. Yes, Dr.
I think the deputy principal, or rather the deputy president's role, is to represent the president. I mean, where he's assigned to do certain tasks. Largely, there are a number of considerations one will put in place in terms of whether someone is qualified or not. I think everybody is qualified to become a deputy president. So long as you meet the minimum requirement, we are qualified. The minimum requirement as per the Constitution is Chapter 6, and you must have a degree. I think that is the only thing that requires one to be a deputy president.
Is it, Paul?
But
yes. No, the other integrity issues.
Chapter 6. Chapter 6. But in addition to that, you must be politically compliant with the system of that particular president, so that you speak the same language. But we will be shocked. You know, some politicians or some cabinet secretaries might not be interested in becoming a principal, deputy principal, you know, a principal assistant to the president, simply because they want an autonomy where they can deliver, and what they will deliver is visible.
That's a very good point.
For example, my professor, Professor Kindiki, he's doing a very great job in the Ministry of Interior, and people have already seen that he's one of the most productive and hands-on in terms of his role as a CS Interior.
I'm assuming you come from the north.
Who is visible?
So
I come from the north.
In the north? You're saying it's doing a very good job.
Definitely, we have ups and downs in the security, or the issues related to security in the north. Largely not because of you know, our security apparatus' failure to do their job, but because we are in volatile borders where we cannot actually control. You know, a border of around 1,500 kilometers distance, which is porous. So that is not a parameter to judge someone whether he has performed well or not. But the systems and the structures he has put in place, the notion of the security apparatus, of late, we are feeling that security apparatus are being looked into by their superiors. So hands-on issues that Professor Kindiki is giving to the security apparatus is an indication that he's doing his job as per the requirement. But again, when you are a principal assistant, will you get that opportunity to do that real job on the ground and get a credit for it? No, because you will be reading the diary of the president, and therefore any credit that comes out, although all the CSs, whatever they do, the president might get a credit because he's the principal chief of the whole thing. But again, who delivers the thing? We have seen a lot of CSs who sits in the office, even the president pronounced before he made this restructuring. after the Gen Zs, that some of his PSS and CS were not up to the task. So you will find people like that. But I think the crucial thing in the political dispensation of who wants to become a principal to assistant to the president will be determined by exactly what the president will want for 2027 and what he thinks is likely the person who will going to be put in the office to do. And I have told you in earlier conversation, there are two things I have just mentioned which are crucial. One, either he wants to have a principle that he has to go with for 2027, or he knows very well that in 2027 there will be a rearrangement of political engagement with other political parties and other allies. And therefore, on that note, the principal assistant that he will pick now will only be playing a role of just occupying the office to facilitate the work that he will going to be doing for his principal chief.
All right, Paul, because you'll be touching on majorly this, running mates, names that have been looked at as potential replacements of the deputy president. I want you to speak on Kindiki's, strengths and weaknesses. And I'm looking at some weaknesses being sent here, or analysis coming in, is that some of the weaknesses of Kithure Kindiki is that it comes from a small constituency. Very interesting. That he will struggle to speak for the entire Mount Kenya. And that he is limited political mobilization, he has limited political mobilization skills. I mean, actually, are these weaknesses? We're
talking about someone who has been a senator for 10 years. He's been a majority leader of the Senate. Elected. He's been the Senate Deputy Speaker. And he was on the brink of becoming the running mate to President William Ruto.
All right.
So he's not a newbie, so to say. And secondly, is the only... Look at Mount Kenya for the last 10 years under President... Uhuru Kenyatta. When we had Uhuru Kenyatta as the president, who was the next person in politics, the nearest leader, the majority leader who came of the Senate, who came from the Mount Kenya East, in this case, was near the president, because the other people, deputy president and other positions, including a leader of majority in the National Assembly, came from different communities. And he's not abrasive.
Okay.
He's not divisive. He's a national figure. He commands respect across board. This is a person who works his socks off. You've seen, like my colleagues have said in the last 2 years, he's been to every single county in Kenya. And he's not the kind of a person you're looking at who come and say, I'm here to command the mountain. That's not what I hope the president will not be looking for that in this replacement, because there's no position like that. In fact, he himself, when he was deputy president, he has never attempted to represent the Rift Valley. He has never, ever attempted to So I hope the appointment of a person with a national stature who will now exude the national image, who will have the confidence of every small, big tribe of the country. Kindiki has been to Lamu, I think, 25, 26 times in his time. Lamu currently is one of the most insecure places in Kenya. I mean, Mandera is even better, and Garissa, but he has managed to manage the security in the country, not to a level where crimes are at zero levels, because it's impossible to do that. But we don't have a streak of terrorist attacks every other time. He has managed successfully the bandit situation in the North Rift, and congratulations to him. You can't take that credit away from him. And he will even in the National Assembly during the vote taking. I am sure even if you put 3 names, if you send 3 names to a short list of 3 names to the National Assembly, there is absolutely no way they are going to beat Kithure Kindiki. He has more respect in the National Assembly than any of those candidates being proposed.
Very, very interesting. I just want to quickly remind the viewer that we might be crossing over to the Senate anytime from now. So stay with us for that big session happening in the Senate. Once we have that go ahead, we will be crossing over to the Senate for the live impeachment debate now in the Senate. Time is moving fast. The clock is ticking. Keep counting down with with us as far as that is concerned. But Waiguru, you know, the president, Ruto, has been big on gender representation. You follow closely some of his appointments, you know, very vividly. He talks about it. He champions for women. And what we're seeing here in this analysis is that Waiguru could have the strength, which is the gender card. I don't know if that comes to play. And they're also saying she's serving the second term as governor. The weaknesses they're here, they're saying that she is considered just as abrasive as Gachagua. And she has low political mobilization, pardon me, skills. I mean, what do you think of that analysis of Waiguru as a replacement?
She has a very good political profile, especially having served as Minister for Devolution, the first Minister for Devolution. She was very effective.
But the shortest time possible.
She was there in terms of, she managed so many state departments at that time.
So in the shortest time, she did so much.
She organized a lot of stuff, because I later worked at the Minister of Devolution, so I understand what was there. Then she's become the governor, she's become the chairperson of the Council of Governors. And of course, she's female. But you look at other aspects. Is she the kind of person in terms of personality that the president wants to work with?
Personality? In
my opinion, that may not be the case, because the president wants to work with someone who is committed to do the job. Anyone who looks inclined so much in doing politics, and someone, look at the behavior of various politicians towards the last elections. Remember I mentioned about the LDP moment of 2002, where you work with people, they consolidate their power, they become extremely powerful, then last minute they abandon you. They say they have listened to the ground, and the ground is saying otherwise. Now, if that person is your deputy, you'll have lost a very big chunk of perception. By perception, in terms of political goodwill, it will be really out. So I look at Waiguru as someone with a tricky personality, that when it gets to the real point of doing the job or sacrificing to fight for the side in which you are, you look around. Remember, we were with her in Azimio. And then last minute, like this, she was nowhere, because because just by seeing the likelihood of President Ruto going to win, and by looking at how her backyard was operating, she decided to give in the towel and move to the next level. A very strong candidate would, the opposite of her, would easily stick with the person who has given that job up to the end and fight for victory.
Okay. Pardon me.
But she's a very strong person.
Okay, just quickly, we'll touch on them very briefly, you know, so that we also keep tabs with the Senate. They might be picking this very fast. And I also check some comments. Dr. Harun, Waiguru as a candidate for you?
No, I think Waiguru, I have a lot of reservation in terms of what transpired when she was a CS. I mean, that is in the public domain, and she was hosted out of the office. I mean, she resigned after the plan to impeach her was initiated.
And interestingly, we have President William Ruto's remarks on that matter, talking about catwalk, etc.
Exactly. So, but a lot has happened.
If we have it, we'll play it.
But a lot has happened.
Yes.
Afterwards, she became the governor for Kirinyaga, and she's serving her second term. There are quite a number of red flags that have been raised quite a number of times, even in the reports from Auditor General and these other aspects of it in regards to Kirinyaga. But again, we can't condemn someone when those things have not been proved before a court of law, so we will not want to dwell on it.
Would we be making the same mistake, if I bring it that way, that we might have made, you know, in hindsight, with Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua? These things came up. I remember some people challenging the position of DPP in as far as some withdrawal of some cases. Might it be that we're not learning? If you're saying let's avoid this, let's not bring in cases that
actually, in Kenyan politics, we have very few people who are clean, who can be tested beyond doubt and proved to be clean, if at all there are people who are clean. But the bottom line is that, you know, our legal systems are very broad, that if you have not been if you have not been sentenced for certain offense, those are all becomes speculation or accusation, and they can't hold water. And that's why you could say anything you want.
All right.
And you can accuse me and say I'm ABCD. If that has not been proved and I've never been accused, even the institutions that are mandated to process those allegations will not going to have any backup. And therefore that means then they will have to just approve you. If they don't approve me and yet they know they have no fact behind that, then the problem will occur. So I think there are a lot of chains of problems we have.
Okay.
To the extent that when we are making a decision on who should be given certain offices and looking at the credibility or what do we call the Chapter 6 element of individuals' role, it becomes very difficult. So there are a lot to be done, and therefore for us to accuse anyone on certain issues that people speculate, we must do it through the legal process.
Paul, before we jump into the PCS, Musalia Mudavadi? Just on Waiguru's...
I'm struggling as a country. We've set the bar so high for accountability. And that's what we're taking the Deputy President through, extremely high. Are you also telling me that we're going to take the same route and hold Anne Waiguru accountable for the mess at the National Youth Service, the corruption, the lost money during her tenure as the Minister in charge of Devolution, Public Service, and effectively in charge of NYS? At her own county in Kirinyaga, she has her own issues with MCAs. She has been even trying to impeach her. She was saved by the Senate last time I remember. And to be at this role, you have to be a team player. And I'm trying to figure out whether she's been a team player, as it were, other than trying to flash the gender card, which for me...
But she coordinated a whole group of governors, 47 counties as a chairperson.
You can easily become a chair of Council of Governors if you're supported by whichever coalition has majority of those. So that for me is neither here nor there.
All right.
And gender card in this case doesn't give what... If I was in the committee trying to assist the president make a short list, she would not even make to top 5 of my considerations. And the other governors, female governors for that matter, who would even rank above her. Yeah, Cicely Mbarira in Embu, for instance. Maybe I would put her in, I would put Cess, maybe Gladys Wanga in Homa Bay.
Okay.
I'll put them ahead of Anne Waiguru. Let's face it. I mean, you can't have your cake and eat it. You want accountability, and you also want to. I mean, it's either black or white. It cannot be in between. I wouldn't put her even on top 5. And you also want someone who will bring on board something. I'm struggling to scratch the surface and get on hold of what exactly she's bringing on the table in terms of political considerations, and I'm not able to put my fingers to it.
Now, interestingly enough, gentlemen, as we close that Waiguru analysis, hundreds of women from Kirinyaga have asked President William Ruto to reciprocate their support by appointing Governor Anne Waiguru as the Deputy President. I'm reading from the Bold newspaper on page 4. And they endorsed Waiguru as the most suitable candidate to take up the DP's position should Rigathi Gachagua's impeachment sail through. Speaking in Kutus town, the women, who included community leaders from all the 20 wards, gentlemen, said Kenya is now ripe for Waiguru, or for a woman, the deputy president, and Waiguru is best suited for the position.
I wish that was happening in Nyeri or Kiambu or somewhere in
so you feel the region has a... Okay.
It is a county where she controls, maybe those are even her employees. I wouldn't take it seriously.
What is happening? From my point of view, President Ruto is a seasoned politician. He's been around for quite a while. And I do not think anyone who is going to mobilize people around them, pay them to sing their name, is the one who is going to get the position. Because all those games, every politician has played all those tricks of hiring people, you give them microphones and they go and say, so-and-so is the one who is supposed to get that position. So I do not think that would be part of his consideration.
All right.
Yes.
Let's talk about the Prime Cabinet Secretary and Ministry for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi. He said earlier on, Paul, that it's very important to take note of the Western backyard. But remember what happened between Ruto and the president, then, Uhuru Kenyatta, when you had certain names coming up, like Matiang'i at the time. Some people were looking like they were threats to the position of the deputy president. But Musalia Mudavadi, when this position was being created, 2023, I think, there are a lot of concerns around his position as well.
Yes.
The fear of who is this guy? Why so much powers? What then will the deputy president be doing? Now, he's being fronted now by some analysts and from the survey that he could be preferred to take over this deputy position. What do you think of him as a candidate, as a deputy president, and is it possible?
I think Mudavadi, first of all, has a lot of strengths because he's well politically experienced. He has had his own political party. He has contested for presidency. And generally, he's a respectable person in the country. And it doesn't look antagonistic. For the short time, they have worked together with the president in terms of the hierarchy of president and then PCS. He has looked like the most reliable of his allies within government. Because remember, when all cabinet ministers were sent home, the president appointed him to be the acting minister in all ministries. So that's someone the president is comfortable with. And then I think Mudavadi also has got that national appeal. So he has a lot of advantages on his side. But the decision ultimately will be in the hands of the president. That's my opinion. Yeah.
Dr. What do you think of Mudavadi?
I think Mudavadi is a good bet.
A good bet?
Yes.
All right.
But, as Wakili mentioned, there are a number of calculations that needs to be looked into. But from the perspective of what is going on, he's the Prime Cabinet at the moment and the Minister for Interior, Minister for Foreign Affairs. The position of Prime Cabinet is contentious. And if there was an agreement that he should be given a Prime Cabinet post because the deputy post was occupied, then I think to save taxpayers' money, I think it is time to move him to the deputy so that the position of Prime becomes absolute. And then we get a CS for Foreign Affairs. That way, we are able to save more taxpayers' money and try to look at things in a different angle, not politically. That's not political. But when we look at the political side, I think Western Kenya is full. When you look at issues of regional balancing. Western Kenya, as Wakili put it, is full, completely full, and therefore it's not a good idea to shift completely from the mountain if at all we need 2027 political, we must play the 2027 political game. Therefore, I don't think if it is something that a politician who, the seasonal politician like His Excellency Dr. William Ruto will want to play that game. So the only thing that probably he can convince with Kenyans is that now that Gachagua is gone, let me save your taxpayers' money. We make some savings because he said he's going to cut cost on government expenditures. And therefore, if the running cost of the government needs to be cut, then we just abolish the Prime Cabinet and give the budget for deputy president to him.
All right.
And then we utilize that money that has been allocated for Prime Cabinet's office for other purposes to save Kenyans from
and I'm also very curious because the Musalia Mudavadi has also, held positions like vice president, even though it was for the shortest time in Kenyan history. He has served in that position before. I don't know what, Paul, you think about that. If we're looking at qualifications or who might have a bit of an experience here and there, and what do you really think? And even it seems to be working very well with the president.
He exudes the image of a national leader. He's not polarizing. Although I've seen my Western Kenya friends tweet and post stuff on social media saying Mudavadi Akishiba anashinda.
For the sake of those watching us in diaspora and the Americans are following, could you say that in English?
So, I don't know what the Luya nation has to do with, and then they put cartoons of him and Ugali and you know Mudavadi Akishiba, anashinda somehow to mean, I interpret that to mean, you want to talk about their issues anyway. After all, he's comfortable. But it's calm. It's calm demeanor, I think. I like it. I like his calm demeanor. And above that, I'm not too sure. By the way, just to say that he doesn't draw two salaries. He's just a normal cabinet secretary.
Oh, so just because he's holding the prime cabinet?
No. There's allocation for prime cabinet secretary's office. So he has that allocation.
Yeah, well, would you say so, really, Paul?
Not double salary, but
not double salary.
But there
allocation.
Like the structure of the president deputy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not personal benefits. The office.
Of the office?
Like staff and running structures around it.
Okay.
And I don't think it's equal to a prime minister. Because a prime minister will come with a whole infrastructure next to that of deputy president. Even for now, I think it's lean. I'm not too sure we can really crucify him for holding that office. I think it was part of the bargaining which is provided for in the constitution, and I saw that the deputy president saying they were bargaining for themselves. So I think they bargained for.
No, Paul, now that you brought it up, every time the people watch, we try our best not to leave them behind.
Yeah.
You brought it up. Now, number one, is that position constitutional?
There's
Prime
nothing.
cabinet secretary?
It's a normal cabinet secretary. It's not a prime minister's position.
Okay.
It's an ordinary cabinet minister.
All right.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you just be in one office of the diaspora and foreign affairs?
You can name listen, the
Yes.
Constitution says the president will create executive offices. It's up to him to, once he is elected, which means that's approved by the people, he can create these offices just to make sure that the way the cabinet is constituted, the executive under Chapter 9 of the Constitution, to make sure that you don't exceed the number of the cabinet secretaries as stipulated in the Constitution. So I wouldn't crucify Musalia Mudavadi for holding that position.
Yeah,
Right,
but Wakili, this was
okay.
restructured after Gen Z's call for restructuring. Otherwise, initially, the prime cabinet secretary had his own office, and he was not actually, he wasn't holding an office for cabinet secretary. Later is when that was revised, when he was pushed to becoming the diaspora and foreign affairs.
Yes.
Together with the word goes.
And that clarification is important. He was just a prime cabinet secretary, but he was given departments.
As defined in the executive order by the president.
Yeah.
The discretion of the president.
Yes.
So, and that's a prerogative of the president. You can't take it away from him. It's his duty to.
So long as he doesn't exceed the 22 cabinet secretaries.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's the point. The benchmark is
and
that
he
one.
never exceeded that.
Yes.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with he was an ordinary minister. When he was not holding the foreign affairs docket, he was doing performance contracting and those kind of things. So he was given he was doing a parliamentary liaison stuff. So he was given certain departments under him that constituted the office of the prime cabinet secretary, which right now, like those offices have been taken away. They are in, I think performance contracting is now under public service. It's no longer under him. So he's now more or less Minister for Foreign Affairs and diaspora. But for the optics of it, he's the prime cabinet secretary.
And in this regard, though, now looking at the people who could replace the deputy president, you've said so many things about Musalia Mudavadi. Is it just the only thing that would eliminate him in your eyes is the fact that Western is well taken care of regionally?
No, not that really alone.
Yeah.
Like as a lawyer, I would go to the pact, the Kenya Kwanza Pact. His position is defined.
Okay.
It was done. The position of Moses Wetangula is defined. The promise was fulfilled. And then the regional arithmetics, like I said, political arithmetics, like I said. So it takes us to the east of the mountain, or rather to the Mount Kenya region, known as not the western circuit of the country.
All right. Yeah. What we are looking at is Kenyans may get a new DP by end of the week if Gachagua goes home.
Yes. Like I said, by Friday. If you ask me, I would make sure that process is expedited. By Friday, we even have a swearing in. Put it somewhere, maybe at Uhuru Gardens or okay.
And again,
Uhuru Gardens is officially open?
And actually on Sunday we have the National Day.
Mashujaa Day, we should be having a
and
new
the Deputy President must be the one,
yeah.
Processing that ceremony. In the absence of the Deputy President, I think it is the Prime Cabinet who is going to do that job. But we will want the Deputy President to do so.
And in fact, fast-tracking this process means that Kenyans will now embark on other issues that they're talking about.
Yeah, we move on.
We move on as a country.
Gentlemen, we've been here.
Yes.
You're saying either way, if it's a win for Kenyans, it's a win for all. I mean, it's really, important that I appreciate the guests who've been here all the way from 7 a.m. Dr. Harun Isaka-san, Leadership and Governance Analyst, Paul Mugambi, for Creating Time Policy and Governance Analyst, and Fwamba NC Fwamba. Kenyans are asking me, where is this name from? Governance Analyst.
I'm a Kenyan. I actually ran for governor in the last election for
Nairobi
governor.
They're saying you should tell them deeper.
I was Sonu Vice Chairman a long time ago, 2003.
There's only one man with two names, one name twice, Miguna. Now,
he also served in Sonu before I joined. So he's part of our family.
All right. So let's take a very short breather. And we just want to come back and let you know that the Senate we might go to the Senate anytime from now. We're also traversing the entire country with different opinions and reactions from Kenyans. We might go to Kisumu very shortly with Bwire and, of course, Chanji in Mombasa. For now, gentlemen, I'll allow you a breather. Yeah, and we'll be right back after this break. And so.